Hey y'all, welcome back to A Black Girl's Guide to True Crime. I'm Lauren, I'm your host. Just want to thank y'all for locking in with me each week. Hope y'all had a wonderful work week or non-work week. I had a great week. I work in healthcare, and when the diagnosis and the treatment is given, no better feeling in the world than that. With that said, we're going to pivot a little bit with our show content. This episode today is going to be about how to build a podcast. So if there are any listeners out there who are starting a podcast or thinking about starting a podcast, because I'm still early in the game, I just kind of want to walk y'all through the steps that I took and what I've learned along the way. So the first step to building a podcast is to come up with a concept or theme. What kind of content are you going to put out there? For example, true crime. If you're going to do a lifestyle content, what type of lifestyle? Mommy lifestyle, wellness, single lifestyle, family lifestyle. It can be a comedy podcast, whatever you choose. Just make sure that whatever you do decide to put out there is storytelling. Make sure you're able to tell a good story, an effective story to your listeners. The second thing I did was I did a cover art, and I did this on Canva and also a description of what your overall podcast is going to be about. Now, these days we have this fancy technology that essentially you can give it a prompt and it can type something up for you. In the past, I've used Vistaprint, Adobe, if you're familiar with that platform. For this particular cover art for my podcast, I use Canva. I find it to be beginner friendly, user friendly. They have a lot of free templates on there. They also have a paid subscription service where you can have access to more templates. I say this as a second step because let me rewind a little bit. The first thing I did when I decided what my content was I went to Apple Podcasts because that's where I listen to my podcast. And I started a profile. Like I went through the steps to build and upload a podcast. And one of the first things they asked me for was the cover art and the description. So I wanted to let you guys know that just to give you that step early so you don't make the same mistake that I did. Step 3 is to create an RSS feed. Now, as a new podcaster, I was not familiar with what that meant. RSS stands for Really Simple Syndication. And there are a couple different hosting sites for an RSS feed. I personally have found success with Buzzsprout. Like I said, I'm still early, so maybe further along the way, something would change for me. But again, I find this very user-friendly and very beginner-friendly. So essentially what happens is once you have this RSS feed, whatever you upload, it will broadcast to all of the sites that your podcast is hosted on. So this was even better for me as a new podcaster because I thought that I was going to have to go to each platform and upload my show. However, when I continued through the process with Apple Podcasting, it asked me for my RSS feed. So those are just some tips and some tidbits so that you don't experience the same problems as I did. Those are the things that those sites are going to ask for when you go to build your feed. Now, because I had an RSS feed, it was even better because I didn't have to upload to all the different sites. Each week I just upload to Buzzsprout and my episodes are broadcast everywhere. And the thing is, it makes it so much easier to just manage your content all in one place. Right now, I'm still using the Buzzsprout, like maybe trial or free version, but it gives you like 90 days or something before your episodes start to expire. And then I can report back to you guys what the subscription is for that, because apparently there's a fee after a certain amount of days to like keep your show going. I just haven't got there yet. So essentially with an RSS feed, just think of a radio station that's syndicated. Certain radio stations that are local to like New York City, you can get in the South. It's not multiple recordings. It's just the same show at different times. So also with Buzzsprout, I didn't have to go to each individual site to request that my show be put up there. I did this directly from Buzzsprout. So when I created my show, it asked me, where do you want to broadcast to? Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, which I did. Everything that was available, all of the major podcasting sites. I tried YouTube. The only thing about YouTube is there was like a verification process. You have to submit your driver's license. Then apparently they delete the driver's license. And I still haven't really moved past that part. But I'm still working on it. And hopefully in the future, maybe there is a need for me to be on YouTube. But right now, I'm just still taking it step by step. The next step is to make a recording. So you can purchase a bunch of fancy equipment. Episode 1, I used a Rode mic that I borrowed from a friend of mine. Episode 2, I used a Blue Yeti mic. And then the third episode, fourth episode, and this episode, I'm just using my iPhone. So you can go back and listen to snippets of each of those episodes that I just named. And you can kind of tell the difference between the sound quality. I think my favorite was the Rode mic, but it didn't belong to me. So hopefully I get to the point where certain companies and brands are reaching out to me, maybe will allow me to have a mic. We'll see. So shout out to Rode Mic. If anybody's listening that works for them, please, I'd like a mic to develop more content. Shout out to Rode Mic. That was my favorite mic. The next step is to record your first episode and then edit your first episode. So what I do each week is I write down a rough draft of what I want to say, an outline, just to prevent myself from saying in between words. I have a tendency to do that. And I've just become more self-aware of that after playing things back to myself. So I do kind of roughly write down what I'm going to talk about and outline it. And then what I used to edit is called Riverside FM. Honestly, it was just the first editing software that I came across. Again, very beginner and user-friendly. That's Riverside FM. I'm not going to say I love it because my first episode, I didn't realize that there was like a watermark. So I was kind of talking over the recording. I'm pretty sure that's going to be most of these sites that are free or, beginner sites, just because maybe that's the way they advertise. I mean, that's obviously the way they advertise. But if anybody else has any more suggestions for editing software, you all know how to get in contact with us. There's a organization called Brick Arts Media. They're based out of Brooklyn, and they do offer some free classes and virtual classes for podcasting, film, if there are other things that you're into. But these classes typically range from $5 to $50. So I do recommend taking some classes. I did a couple of their podcasting classes. Like I said, if you're not local to Brooklyn, you can definitely take these classes virtually. And I feel like it just kind of helps fill some of the learning gaps for first-time podcasters. I was able to take classes on marketing, which I learned a lot. I think as technology changes, a lot of advertising is social media. Personally, I'm not on social media a lot. I mean, really at all. But I think my vision for my podcast was just a more grassroots marketing and getting visibility that way. I haven't got there yet. I'm not in a position where I have started trying to market to people I don't know or reach audiences further away. But I will get there, baby steps. My plan was to really go in local cafes or shops where I know my demographic of listeners hang out, or go to libraries and stuff, and just putting up flyers, because I know something that says A Black Girl's Guide to True Crime would attract me to it, because that's just my interest. And it's just about getting visibility. I think a lot of social media is all about the algorithms. And to be honest, I'm not really in that position. I'm not in a mental headspace to spend that much time on social media. I have a family, I work a job, but hopefully one day I figure it out. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll appreciate just my small cult following for my grassroots marketing, and that's okay. But that's just food for thought. Brick Arts Media does offer a marketing your podcast, and they go into details like the intricacies of social media marketing and algorithms. Whatever I did get some visibility or some recognition from One Black Podcast a Day. I'm not super familiar with the company, but I'm really interested in what they're about and how they help people like me. I did have somebody reach out to me via email, so I am getting some visibility. I don't know how, but I'm getting out there. And I think that you just kind of learn as you grow. Or grow. I'm getting a lot of great feedback from my family and friends. They know me, so it's really unique and really special. And just trial and error. Like the first episode, I realized they put the watermark there. So I knew the second episode to give myself some time so that I'm not talking over the recording. And really just things like the different mics and the different ways to edit with music and sound quality, X, Y, and Z. So I've learned a lot from episode 1 just to episode 5. The last step I took, I created a Google Business email just because I wanted my listeners to have a direct way to reach out to me. I wanted people to give their opinions and recommendations for episodes and content because, as I've said for every episode, this is a people's podcast and I want to know what you all want to hear. So again, I really appreciate you guys locking in with me. I hope that this is helpful to somebody wanting to start a podcast. Ask me any questions that you have. Remember, I am still learning as I go. And it's fun and I really appreciate it. So our email is info@blackgirlstruecrime.com. Thanks for locking in with me this week, y'all. We'll talk soon.